talking about healthy snacking. Kind of can be applicable to any kind of workplace or any job that you're kind of in within Duncan, whether you're in Battle Creek, Provo, Lincoln, or any of the satellites. And we're going to just kind of talk about what to choose and why it kind of matters. So I'll go ahead and get started. Click down here. Okay, so for our objectives for today, we'll kind of just talk about a variety of options and things that we'll kind of talk about that will revolve around healthy snacking and trying to just get more nutrient-dense foods throughout the day. So first, we'll just kind of talk about what is considered snacking, and then we'll kind of go into what the pros and cons are for snacking. That way you can kind of get both sides to make a well-rounded decision about snacking. And then just discuss some of the common snacks that you might consume or you might see others consuming during lunch times or when they're snacking. And then we'll kind of pivot into what are some nutrient-dense alternatives that you can maybe include with snacking. And that kind of leads us into ways to kind of incorporate if you have maybe a favorite snack that might be less nutrient dense, and then pairing that with a more nutrient dense snack to create an overall balanced snack. That way you're still getting something that you really love or something that you might have like a favorite, but you're also still getting those nutrients. So we'll kind of dive into that. And then how to consume these snacks while sticking to a budget is important for everyone. Um, Anybody can have a budget, and so it's important to kind of know how to find nutrient-dense options while still sticking with a budget. And then lastly, we'll just kind of look at recommendations and an overall summary. So you may be wondering what is considered snacking. And in all honesty, snacking really is up to the individual. It can be very variable. People can have different definitions of what snacking is to them, or maybe what their family has taught them, or kind of their background. What snacking might be can be different for every person. So there's not really one definition of snacking, but these are just some of the criteria that most people kind of base their snacking off of. So it can be based off of the time of day that the food is consumed, the type of food that is consumed during that time, the amount of food, the location that you consume the food in, or just kind of a combination of all these factors. Now, the term snacking, again, is up to the individual, but many of the healthcare professionals just kind of agree that snacking somewhat falls between the main three meals of the day. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and usually snacking kind of falls somewhere in between those meals. Kind of in the periods where we're not really eating, maybe we're working, maybe we're doing something else. Snacking kind of usually falls in between those. So just kind of food for thought in your own daily lives, in what kind of job you're in, just kind of as you go about the week, just kind of think about what do you kind of consider a snacking. And this might be able to help you just kind of understand, okay, this is what I consider as snacking, and these are kind of the foods that I might be able to consume during those times. Is it based off the location? Is it kind of based off the amount of food that you have? So those are just some ideas that kind of get floating in your head. Um, just kind of understanding what you yourself as the individual consider as snacking. So now we'll kind of dive into what the pros are for snacking. And there can be many. These are just a couple here that I have listed. So the very first one, snacking can really help to control the feeling of hunger and prevent overeating at meals. So if you maybe haven't eaten for a while and you're feeling really hungry, having a small snack can kind of help curb that feeling of hunger and therefore can help you prevent overeating at a meal. Uh, let's say you're hungry during the morning and then you decide to have lunch, you might overeat at lunch just based off of the fact that you might be very hungry. So having a snack in between there can kind of help curb that feeling of that extra feeling of hunger when lunchtime kind of rolls around. And that can apply to any of the meals. And these can kind of help keep cravings at bay. If you're having a certain craving, having a snack might be able to kind of keep that at bay. So the second pro would be mainly to just kind of boost energy levels throughout the day. And this is really the main pro that a lot of people see is that as they're going about their day, they might get tired or they might get fatigued, and a snack might be able to help boost their energy level and keep working, keep going strong throughout the day. And this can apply to any type of job that you have. Everybody can kind of get tired during the day. So snacks sometimes can help boost that energy level to keep motivated and to keep going throughout the day, especially if the snack has protein, which can kind of help make you feel full quicker than like things like straight carbohydrates or certain fats. Protein and fiber can help you feel a little more full. So if a snack includes that, then you'll hopefully feel a lot more energy and feel more full uh, and prevent that overeating as well. Third, snacking can really help to maintain those blood sugar levels. So as we go about our day, as we eat, our blood sugar goes up. And then as we kind of digest the food, it kind of goes into a low. And if we're not really having a lot of meals throughout the day, we might have very high spikes and very low lows. So a snack might help to kind of keep your blood sugar within a certain range, which is a healthier range. By including again protein, it helps to slow down digesting like any sugar, and so having a snack can kind of help maintain that throughout the day. That way we're not having those high spikes and really lows. Making sure to also have a snack that has nutrients, like vitamins and minerals, can also be helpful. So as I have there, snacking may help to increase these nutrients consumption. So if you're eating throughout the day and you're not really getting those nutrients at your lunches or your dinners, a snack that is nutrient dense while putting that in there might help to increase the amount of nutrients that you get throughout the day. That way, you make sure you get all your recommended amounts of vitamins, minerals, things like that throughout the day and not just at certain meals. So it might help some people get to that range that they need to. So kind of moving on to cons. So there are a few cons to snacking. The first one just kind of being snacking can provide people with an excess of calories. So if somebody is eating 3 meals a day, or if somebody is eating enough that they feel that they're full enough throughout the day and they don't really feel hungry, if they start to incorporate snacking, it may lead to an excess of calories throughout the day. That's not to say that you can never, if you eat 3 meals a day, you can never have a snack. It's just that, if you do feel that you are full when you're eating, snacking, if you do start incorporating snacking, it may provide you an excess of calories. But that's not necessarily always the case. It just is something to kind of keep a watch on. And it kind of ties into that second one. So for some people, snacking may become like a mindless activity or associated with a certain activity like watching TV or simply just out of boredom. Some people might just start snacking out of boredom. And so that again may lead to kind of that overeating, overconsumption of calories, um, which may become unhealthy over a long period of time. So kind of again focusing on the type of food that you have. So for some, if snacking on unhealthy foods or foods that are less nutrient dense, that may be a con because while you're still getting food in, it might be curbing that hunger. You're not really getting those nutrients like essential vitamins and minerals and protein and fiber. These are the minerals that you kind of need in those snacks. And if the food is very not very is very processed or is less nutrient dense, then you may be missing out on those nutrients. And just lastly, for some people might develop digestive issues. So if you're eating too much, you might feel bloated or have some indigestion. So those are just a few of the cons just to consider. if you are snacking. So kind of moving on, just a little bit extra information. Snacking can really be a normal and healthy endeavor, especially if a food is nutrient dense, which can provide those micronutrients such as vitamins and minerals. So kind of like that image off to the right, if your energy is kind of going down, like a plane is landing, a snack may help to boost that energy back up and get that plane going back up. Making sure to have a snack that's not super large, kind of aiming for around 150 to 250 calories in that snack is essential in providing you enough protein and nutrients to kind of curb that hunger, but also to make sure to stay within that kind of that estimation. That way, you're not overeating and causing issues with possibly your like three main meals. So if you eat too much of a snack in the beginning, in between breakfast and lunch, you may not feel hungry or feel like eating a ton when lunchtime rolls around. And so we just want to make sure that you're getting some nutrients, but not having a super large snack that may interfere with that meal time. So just kind of aiming for that 150 to 250 calories is ideal. And you may be asking yourself, okay, so when is it time for me to really enjoy a snack or have one? So these are some questions that you might be able to ask yourself if you think you might want to have a snack. So, is your energy or your focus starting to wane in the job or activity that you're doing? Are you becoming maybe a little more irritable? Have you not had food or eaten for many hours? These are some of the good signs to say, hey, I might be able to have a snack, something small. Um, these might be signs that your blood sugar might be a little too low or that your body just needs a little boost, a little energy to kind of continue that task that you're at um, and continue out throughout the day. So that's just kind of a little bit of information on when to have a snack and about the sizing of your snack. So just kind of diving a little bit more in depth with a few nutrients um, that are really needed during these snacking times. So trying to include protein in each snack is really key. As we go throughout the day with physical activity, whether it's walking or lifting or moving things, we are using our bodies and we're breaking down protein as we use our bodies. And that protein needs to be replenished through eating food. So trying to choose a snack that has some protein in it is really key, as well as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that protein helps us to feel a little bit more full throughout the day, and kind of give us that full feeling. So it's very important to try to choose snacks that have protein. So protein typically can be averaged around zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, that is for somebody who has minimal activity throughout the day. So, somebody who's not really using their body a whole lot, who maybe just is doing a little bit of light walking, isn't really doing a lot of heavy lifting. So, just for an idea, somebody who weighs 154 pounds and has that minimal activity should aim for about 56 to 70 grams of protein per day. Now, that can come with their meals, that can be introduced with their snacks. That's just an overall during that day around that range. Now, that same person who weighs 70 kilograms at 154 pounds, but has moderate physical activity 4 times a week, is recommended to consume about 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram. So that would increase that protein recommendation to about 84 to 105 grams. So as you can see, for the same person weighing the same amount, doing two different amounts of physical activity, your protein needs can go up drastically or can be lower if you're not doing as much. So this is just something to keep in mind. Just kind of ballparking an idea of how much protein you should be having per day based off of kind of your physical activity. Just some higher protein snacks, just so you kind of get a bit of an idea of some that might that you can maybe include are things like jerky, cheese sticks, mixed nuts, peanut butter, protein bars that have lower amounts of added sugar, and yogurt. So those are just some ideas of higher protein snacks to kind of meet those recommendations. Another key nutrient that you can kind of look into is electrolytes. Now, electrolytes help us to have a lot of energy and keep us going throughout the day. Um, they provide a balance of minerals and vitamins to our body to kind of keep us going. We want to try to focus on whole foods when looking at electrolytes. So things like fruits and vegetables, dairy products, nuts, and seeds are very key foods that have a lot of electrolytes in them. So these are just some of those whole foods. I included a couple examples just on the slides here. So for about a fourth of a cup of mixed nuts that were unsalted with no peanuts, that provides you about a quarter of your magnesium in one day. And then transitioning, just kind of looking at the strawberries, that again provides about a quarter of your phosphorus in one day for half a cup. So these are just a few couple examples that can kind of demonstrate that these whole foods provide us these electrolytes, such as minerals and vitamins, and can be very helpful in including in snacks. That way we get those electrolytes throughout the day and can give us energy to keep going at our task. So now let's take a look at some actual snacks to consume. That way you can kind of get an idea of some that you might be able to include in your daily snacks. Okay, so here's some of the snacks that you may consume already, or you may see other people in your workplace consuming. Some of these might be surprising, and some of them might be common. You might know of people who consume these each day, or you might say, oh, these are what I associate with snacks. But some of them might not be as common. So things like deli meats and certain yogurts, certain breakfast bars and oatmeal, these items are not as nutrient dense as you may think. So some of these items may have a lot of added sugar, added sodium, higher cholesterol, and higher amounts of saturated fat. So they would not be considered really nutrient dense options. So these are just some that you may have seen, and that way you kind of get an idea of what are some not nutrient dense snacks. So transitioning, now we'll take a look at what are nutrient dense snacks. So here are some options that you can maybe consider including in your snacks. Things like mixed nuts, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, um, peanut butter, cheese sticks. If you're wanting something like a potato chip, trying to go for lightly salted or reduced sodium variants, things like you can see there is yogurt down there, a yogurt parfait kind of right here. But with that yogurt parfait, instead of having a lot of added sugar, it might be more like a Greek yogurt and then adding fresh fruit to it. You can include, make your own like DIY trail mix, including like nuts, maybe some dark chocolate, maybe including a few dried fruits. These are some ideas to kind of get going that you can see. These are nutrient dense options. These are options that will provide you minerals, vitamins, protein, fiber throughout the day and keep your energy a little higher than those non-nutrient dense options. So I kind of made a table here of just a few items and a few snacks. So right here, I have the different food items. So we have a few nutrient dense options, which are in black. And then we have a few items that might be non-nutrient dense. So things like Oreos, a donut, and one bag of Lay's chips. So as we kind of go through, you may be able to see that the items that are not as nutrient dense typically have higher amounts of sugar, especially added sugar. They may have much more sodium and a lot less of the nutrients that we were looking for. So if we kind of compare here between the mixed nuts and the Oreos, as you can see, the mixed nuts have a lot less sodium. They have a lot higher amounts of fiber, a lot less sugar, and a lot more protein. Now you might be saying, well, Billy, they have a lot higher amount of fat. This fat here is healthier fat, so that polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, which is healthier fat rather than saturated fat. Now, am I saying that you can never have Oreos? By no means am I ever saying that you can never have Oreos. This is just kind of a chart to show you what are some items that are more nutrient dense compared to those items that are not as nutrient dense. So now we'll kind of go into pairing if you have a favorite item that isn't as nutrient dense with a nutrient dense option. That way you can kind of create a balanced snack throughout the day. So kind of taking a step into that, some ways to kind of incorporate those less nutrient dense favorites. So if you have a favorite snack that might be not as nutrient dense, you may be able to incorporate this with a higher nutrient density options. Again, like I said, you can still certainly consume your favorite snacks. We just really want to focus on whole foods and ones that are more nutrient dense. Now, this can be something like I mentioned before, a DIY trail mix, where you include something that might not be as nutrient dense, that you might have a favorite, but then you include things like maybe some nuts and some dried fruit, and then maybe throwing in your less nutrient dense option. That way, in whole, it is a balanced snack. Another way, some people do kind of like these snack boxes. So I have an example right here. And you can kind of get maybe a Tupperware container, and these are just kind of finger foods. And you kind of can pick at them for your snack. As you can see, we have some meat that'll provide us protein, cheese, which will also provide us a lot of protein, crackers, and some fruit. And again, this can be very variable. You can maybe put yogurt in one section and granola in another section and fresh fruit in this section. It's really customizable to however you feel you want to create your snack. But these are just some ways you can incorporate that. That way you can still get your favorite snacks, but you can also include those nutrient dense options. Again, making sure to focus on protein and fiber, as those will help to provide you fullness and get you all your essential needs. So again, another suggestion, if you had a little container like that, you could put in some jerky or peanut butter, and then you can add in fruit with the peanut butter to add in some of that fiber. So I have another one of those food for thoughts. As you're listening to this, just think in your head, what are some combinations that you can think of or that you may be able to come up with to include in your workday and to get those essential nutrients like we talked about, those vitamins, those minerals, protein, and fiber. So just kind of think about some options that you might be able to include in your snack times. So this is just kind of a visual, just kind of going a little bit more in depth with that, just to kind of give you an overall visual of a balanced snack. Let's say your favorite snack is Oreos, and you want to have a little package of them. Maybe focusing on just a handful of Oreos, and then including in some mixed nuts and a banana. And this overall will be a balanced snack. Overall, the snack will provide you minerals like phosphorus and magnesium and some protein. But if you just had the Oreos by themselves, it would not provide you the same amount of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals as the balanced snack would overall. So this is just kind of a visual for you to kind of see how we can take something that you might snack on already and make it a little bit more of a nutrient dense option. So just kind of including some different foods that bring in some of those things like protein and fiber and like the vitamins and minerals. So this is just kind of a visual for you to kind of understand. So just focusing a little bit now on how to introduce these nutrient-dense snacks while sticking to a budget. So some of these snacks you might be able to find in bulk, such as nuts, seeds, popcorn, fruits, and vegetables. These you might be able to find in bulk. That way you might be able to find them for a cheaper price, and then you can use them over a longer span of time. Making sure to look for deals, coupons, sales, or specials on certain items will also help to kind of stick to that budget, but still get nutrient-dense options. And then again, you can always mix and match certain snacks. Some of them are cheaper than others, but making sure to prioritize those healthy, nutrient-dense options while making sure to stay in your personal budget. So these are just some ways to kind of still get those nutrient-dense options within your snack, but making sure to stay within your budget kind of can help anybody get those nutrient-dense options. Also, another couple skills, creating a list might help to organize or price out the options and the food items that you're planning on getting at the grocery store. And making sure to consume fresh fruits and vegetables before they go bad or overripe. Now, there will be another presentation on this, focused solely on this topic of kind of sticking to a budget and eating well while on a budget. This will be happening tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. So join Meredith for that topic. So kind of diving into a few of the recommendations. So kind of based off your personal individual lifestyle and diet, but try to consume maybe 1 to 3 snacks per day, depending again on that preference in your diet. Aiming to include at least 1 to 2 of those nutrient-dense options, such as fruits, nuts, veggies, low added sugar protein bars, and a variety of other items that I kind of gave you an idea about. Try to aim to include protein in each snack to build and maintain that muscle. And also include whole foods such as fruits and vegetables that will be higher in those electrolytes and fiber to get all your nutrients and boost you throughout the day. Again, make sure to focus on portion sizing and timing of the snacks. That way you can balance them between meal times throughout the day. And include a variety of snacks. That way you're not having the same food each and every day. By no means am I saying you have to cut out all the bad food or the less nutrient dense food. Again, try to pair them together. That way you still get some of your favorites, but still contain still some nutrient dense options. That way they provide vitamins, protein, minerals, and all your essential nutrients. So just kind of in summary, snacking can be very diverse for each person. Each person has a different idea of snacking. There's not a single definition of it. If you're considering starting snacking, make sure to weigh the pros and cons before. And there are multiple different options that are nutrient dense that you can pair and create a balanced snack. Thank you for listening. And if there are any questions.
Billy, there is one question here. And she asked, what is the difference between calories and kcal?
Yeah, sure. So just in general, calories and kilocalories sometimes can be used synonymously. Um, Typically, within research and things like that, they use kcal. But calories, again, you can just kind of see on the nutrition label and count out those throughout the day, making sure, again, to try to stay around that 150 and 250 for your snack.
Perfect. And it looks like Alan, you have a question. Feel free to unmute.
I do. So real quick, in one of the earlier slides, you said that mixed nuts should not include peanuts. And I read that about a year ago and stopped eating peanuts and peanut butter. But now one of the later slides past that suggests pairing peanut butter with, fresh fruit or other things to increase protein intake, pardon me. So what's the difference between raw peanuts and processed peanut butter?
So yeah, again, referring to the slide here, with no peanuts,
Yeah, that
I
one.
used this website called Chronometer, and on there I just selected the mixed nuts with no peanuts.
Oh,
You can
okay.
certainly have peanuts by all means. That's just the one that I had selected on that website to kind of get that information of like the calories, the protein, kind of the breakdown.
Okay.
By all means, you can include peanuts. Peanut butter versus peanuts, they both have very high amounts of protein. They have good amount of protein. They're both great options. If you want to include peanut butter, like I said, with like fruit or with crackers, that's a great option. Sometimes people like to just have the raw peanuts. So on either end, they can be both useful. Um, if you have mixed nuts with peanuts, that's completely fine as well. I know in stores they sell them with and without. So again, if and again, some people might be can't have peanuts. They might have a peanut allergy. So for those folks, having no peanuts might be helpful, but by all means, you can have peanuts, and they still do provide a good amount of protein throughout the day.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll add on to that too, just a little bit about like the peanut butter and the peanuts. I think Billy did a good job of explaining that. I think too, one of the things that we like to watch for, actually, someone just mentioned it, is that peanut butter can sometimes have added sugar, especially based on the brand that we're looking at. It is also typically a higher calorie food. So if you're really focused on making sure that you're watching calories, if you're having more calorie dense meals, peanut butter can kind of skyrocket your calories when it comes to snacks a little bit. Of course, having it in moderation, but I think the serving size is usually like 2 tablespoons. And I don't know how many of us are actually having 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Usually I eat a lot of peanut butter when I have peanut butter. So just be mindful of calories that way and added sugars. There are a lot of peanut butters out there now that have no sugar added. It's a little bit of a taste preference. Some people are like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to have peanut butter, I'm going to have Jif, I'm going to have whatever has the added sugar. And that's okay. Just be mindful of that for sure. Any other questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat. All righty. Perfect. Well, thank you, Billy. Good job. I will, as a reminder, I recorded this presentation. I will be sending the link. I'll upload it to our YouTube channel and then send it out to you guys so you can look back at it. Or if people had to jump off, they'll be able to see it again as well. And there will also be a little follow-up recap sheet that you'll be able to refer back to instead of having to listen to the whole presentation. But again, thank you, Billy, and thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.